Buenas noches, soy Santiago del Val y me encuentro aquí entrevistando a Chris Robb, dueño de una empresa de constructora en Canadá que se llama Único Contrato. Y ahora vamos a empezar la entrevista. Va a ser en inglés porque viene de Canadá. So, good night, Chris Robb, and how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm glad for you. So let's start, and maybe you could talk about yourself and explain us about your life.
Okay. I grew up in Southern Ontario. I went to high school, did all of that, and as far as professionally, I first started in the aviation business when I was in high school. My grandfather told me that when he passed away, I would not get an inheritance. He wanted to give me money at the time to spend so that he could see me spend my inheritance. So I decided I wanted to be a pilot, so he paid for my flying lessons and just flying small airplanes, and I did that. So that was very good of him. And then at the end of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a living, but I really enjoyed the aviation business, and I happened to see in a magazine an advert to become a helicopter pilot. So with a lot of help from my parents and the rest of the family, I was able to go to flight school and become a helicopter pilot. So I finished that, but getting the first job as a helicopter pilot is very difficult to do because you're flying. I was a young guy, I was only 19 when I got my commercial pilot's license, and you're flying a very expensive machine that's potentially very dangerous. So I ended up traveling around Canada, going to different places and looking for a job, and I would work as a taxi driver or a waiter or doing all of these different jobs so that I had money to find a job being a pilot. And a problem that I ran into is I got a job with a company in British Columbia, and I worked for them, but I just drove a van delivering parts and that kind of thing. I was the delivery guy. And they had a lot of problems in the company with people damaging company vehicles. And one day I was driving down the street, and a dump truck, a big truck in front of me, it threw a stone out of its wheel onto the windshield of the van I was driving. And so when I got back to the office, they fired me for that because they were using me as an example to the rest of their staff. It was a really poor thing to do in hindsight, especially my running a business now. I understand how you deal with people that work for you, and that was the wrong thing for them to do. But anyway, and that was a very difficult time for me because I got fired for this, and it kind of crushed my dreams a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't let it stop me, so I went back to driving a taxi so that I would have some money. And eventually I moved from there up to where I live now in Yellowknife, and I got my first flying job in Yellowknife, and I met my wife there and that kind of thing. And so fortunately after that I was able to go out and fly and do the work that I wanted to do. And that was really good. I saw almost all of Northern Canada and Western Canada. I went everywhere, doing a variety of work, fighting forest fires, a lot of slinging with helicopters, exploration drills, all these things. It was really good, but I thought, well, maybe there's something else. So my wife and I had traveled to Holland, and I really liked it there. So I did two things at the same time. I applied for a job at a helicopter company in Holland that I was contacting and maintaining contact with. And at the same time, I applied to the military to be a pilot for the military. And I decided, well, whichever one offers me a job first, I'll take it. Well, the military called first, so I went off and I did basic training in Montreal, just outside of Montreal. And then it was about 4 months later that the company from Holland called and they offered me a job. So anyway, I stayed with the military and I did that. When I went to basic training in Montreal, I probably I wasn't as physically fit as I could have been when I went. And one day I did about, I think about 4 weeks of the course. And on the obstacle course, I hurt my back. I injured my back. And so that put me out of my basic training course, which was very hard to take. Now, if all of the staff who were running it, they knew what happened and why it happened. So they gave me the opportunity to do it again. So I did basic training, well, 1.5 times. Basic training is really, really hard.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But it was like very important to be able to keep flying.
Well, if I wanted to fly for the military, to work in the military, you must pass this course.
Okay.
And this course has nothing to do with flying. It's about making you work hard, learning about the military and how it all works. Basically, basic training tears you down as a person and rebuilds you.
Okay.
And that's what they do, by dragging you out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and making you run in the mud. That kind of thing. So I did finish basic training and I was posted to a base in Edmonton, Alberta, where I flew combat helicopters, just training and local missions within Canada. Whatever it might be, a lot of working with the Army and flying Army people around. And that was really good. It was a great job. It was a lot of fun. But the problem was that I was away from home all the time. And by this point, my wife and I had had our first child, Ella. And I would leave for 6 weeks and come home for 5 days and then leave for another 6 weeks, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And kind of the one thing that put me in my next career was when I came home from working and my wife was standing at the door when I walked up and our daughter Ella was there and she hid behind her mother because she didn't know who I was. So that was kind of hard to take.
Really hard.
Yes.
I would imagine.
Yes. So my father-in-law, he had opened a business and he was running it in Yellowknife. And Tarina and I, my wife and I, spoke to each other and we decided, well, he's coming to retirement age. Why don't we offer to take over the business so that he can retire and relax? Excuse me. So we called him and he hemmed and hawed about it. He said, I don't think it's going to work because you're going to come up here and you and your wife are going to work together, which is a very challenging thing, okay? So I left the military as a captain and an officer, and my first job was picking up garbage on a construction site. So I went from these kind of extremes of career. And I wasn't making much money, that's for sure, picking up garbage. But anyway, so I started doing that, and then I spent the next 2 years just roofing and working for the company with my hands and with the tools to learn how to do that work, so that eventually when I ran the company, I would intimately understand how to build buildings. So then it just sort of, one day my father-in-law wanted to go out of town, so I said, okay, well, I'm going to stay in the office and I'm going to do this. And then it wasn't long before I had really started taking over the company and running it. And I know that it kind of bothered him a bit because although he did plan to go into retirement and he wanted to retire, it was just kind of difficult for him to take a bit. But that was okay. So since then, I built the company quite a bit, organized it, and yeah, improved it a lot. So that's where now, 10 years, I've been running the company for 10 years, and that's where I am today.
So what I can understand is that your first dream was like flying, no? Being a pilot.
Yes.
And I think, was it like your grandfather? No, your grandfather that gave you like this dream?
Kind of. Yeah, just because he asked me, when my grandfather offered to pay for this course for me, he said, I will pay for something for you, but it has to be education. It has to be good for you. It has to improve you somehow. So he was willing to do that, and he knew that the flying thing was good. And he had never really had anything to do with aviation before, although I think he enjoyed aviation, the idea of it, but he never had anything to do with it.
You were the one from the idea of starting with helicopters and...
Yeah. And actually my brother, who is also a pilot, he and I, honestly and coincidentally, decided at the same time we were living in two different places, and we got talking to each other, and we both basically said at the same time, I think I want to be a helicopter pilot. Yeah, so it was very coincidental, and he did that as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And so, well, it's a very nice story. Like, I don't know what to say now. It's incredible. But yeah, so and in like you were for years trying to get there to the point you wanted to reach, and you were just working to get the money to realize, no, to be able to do whatever you wanted, no? To reach your dreams.
Yes.
So for how long, sorry, did you were working just to reach?
Wow.
Maybe without knowing if you were going to be able, no?
Between the time that I got a commercial pilot's license and the time that I got my first job was about 5 years. It was a long time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give up. I just kept doing it. I knew that that's what I wanted to do, so I kept working.
And then it's also surprising that when you were already doing what you wanted, and then from one moment to another, like you changed like the main important thing in your life, no? Like
yes,
you saw your daughter, and you realized that was your new greatest dream, no?
Yes.
That made you change life. And
well, I knew that I wanted to run a business at some point, and there were a lot of reasons why I made the switch from aviation to construction, but really the big ones were that I knew that I had to spend more time with my family, and the helicopter business was not good for that. And also I wanted to run a business. I wanted to try it.
okay.
I wanted to see what it was like.
So, and now what's for you your biggest dream? Like the thing you live for? Or
Well, as I've gotten older and my family is growing, really the important thing is about raising my children properly, maintaining my relationship with my wife. You know, these personal things become more and more important. Professionally, I'm looking at retirement at some point in the future, and retirement is the wrong word. I'm looking at probably ending my construction career so that I could go back to flying helicopters, because that's what I really love doing. Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
And now that I'm talking with you and I have my future to go, I'm just asking, I would like to ask you maybe some recommendation for me or for whoever will be able to watch this video. Or even what would you tell to your daughters, and like what can we do to reach whatever, like to reach our dreams, no?
Okay. Number one is learn how to work hard. You have to know how to work hard. You have to be disciplined and know how to work hard. I've made lots of mistakes, and honestly, maybe some of the things that I've done in the past, I was not all that good at, but I just worked hard and I made it happen. So it wasn't necessarily good management all the time. It was just determination to do it. So I recommend learning how to work hard and remaining focused. You can't let small problems, you can't let mistakes and this kind of thing stop you from staying on that, like taking you off of your path and where you intend to go. I realize that for yourself and young people like you, it's very hard to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And I know that's challenging, but if you don't do anything, if you don't start doing something, then you won't do anything. So you must begin, you must take your first steps forward, and once you do, you have to work hard and remain focused that you're going to go somewhere and do something.
So yeah, okay. So yeah, that's how we have to do things, no? Like we have to work hard to. Then what do you think we have to have a purpose in our life? Like for you, your dream was to fly helicopters, and you were able to get there. But at some point, like life gave you another thing, no? Mm-hmm. Another job,
another opportunity.
Yeah. Do you think it's really important for us, like having a dream?
Well, I do. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we all have to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have to want to do something. The world is a big place. There's so much to do. There's so much exciting stuff out there. Go look around. If you can't figure out what to do, start doing something, whatever job it may be or whatever interest holds you, start doing that. And just begin. And usually, like what happened to me, I was on one path and everything was fine, and then an opportunity presented itself. So if you get started doing something, and maybe you don't like that too much, but opportunity will change, and you can do something different.
We could say that maybe the key for our success is maybe working hard just to be prepared to be able to take whatever life shows to you.
Absolutely. But working hard, there's no replacement for working hard. And I run a company where all of my employees have to do physical hard work. And having the discipline to be able to make yourself work hard is one of the hardest things to learn in life. Lots of people, especially when they're young, think they're clever and think that they're the smartest person in the room. But you can be the smartest person in the room, but if you can't actually work hard, that's not going to help you. You really, yeah. So that's why I say that working hard is the basis.
And well, your life seems very interesting, no? But now I would like to ask you, what would you tell to, maybe if we could imagine that, to yourself when you were 20 years old? What's,
Well, what would I recommend to myself
yeah, exactly.
when I was 20? Look after my health a little better. That would have helped a lot. Of course, being healthy is there's no replacement for it. That's kind of the big thing that I would tell myself, because when I was 20, I knew how to work hard. It was something that my parents instilled in me, and I was blessed with parents who helped me and a family who supported me. So yeah, at that age, I already knew how to work.
Oh, thank you very much. So, I don't know if there's something else that you would like to tell us, and maybe if you like something of this interview, or if there's something else, or maybe something even free, not even about this theme, no?
Okay. Well, I touched on the subject of family a little bit, but I think I'll expand on that and say that family is really, really important, and it should be that family is something that should be maintained at the same time that you are working hard to achieve your goals, because family is so much help, and they're always there for you. So yes, that's another thing that I've always done, is maintained a relationship with my family. Yeah.
Has it been a big help for you these years, I would imagine?
Yeah, well, and I say that family helps and supports you, yes, but makes your life rich. So yes, my family have helped me professionally, but at the same time, the caring and the relationship and the interaction with family, it's bountiful. It's great. So, and I've been fortunate enough that I have been able to expand my relationship with my family, especially after having lived far away from them and all that sort of thing. I've been able to afford to visit and do things like that.
So yeah.
I'm lucky.
Yeah, you are. You really are. And I hope someday we can all like do what we always have dreamed, or we will dream. So if there's nothing else we could say, I would just want to thank you for lending me some of your time, some of your patience, and so hopefully I can see you soon, and thank you very much.
I always have time for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.